Hey everybody, my name is Paul Esden Jr., aka Boy Green. I'm the New York Jets digital reporter for Heavy.com. Thanks for joining us, everybody. And wow, what a magical night for the New York Jets, a night that I think a lot of us will never forget. That's how historic this was. And of course, I'm referencing the NFL honors, the New York Jets representation at the NFL honors. Feel free to dive into the comments. We are streaming live simultaneously in 3 different locations. The Heavy on Jets Facebook page, over 30,000 New York Jet fans here very late on a Thursday evening. On my YouTube channel, youtube.com/boygreen25. Like the video, hit subscribe, and share. Jump into the comments, share your stories. We'll be playing several of the clips from the NFL honors tonight and going through all the Jets hoopla. And of course, on my Twitter account, over 10,000 of you, wink, flex at boygreen25 as well. And to take us through this journey, to help us tell the story, we will be reacting with another handsome Jets content creator, and that is the Jet Central, gracing us with his presence. I couldn't do this alone. I needed to call in backup, and I found the best in the business. Jet Central, welcome to the show, man.
Paul, what's going on, man? Yo, I appreciate the kind words.
Well, and this is, like I said, for people who don't know, this is totally off script. This is just, I was watching NFL Honors and I'm like, gee, this is a historic Jets night. I mean, this is magical. I can't quite put into words or quite remember the last night that had this so much about respect of the history of the Jets organization and also the promising future at the same friggin' time at NFL Honors. It was magical. And I said, well, I need to bring somebody on here. And the first name I thought of was Jet Central, baby. And you do obviously a wonderful job on your YouTube channel, which has over 30 gosh darn thousand subscribers, and certainly counting to everybody who's tuning in right now. I mean, man, this is exciting. This is spectacular. And let's do a quick highlight reel before you react. The latest news, the one that just came before we hopped on, Darrelle Revis is a gosh darn first ballot friggin' Hall of Famer, baby, and he will be going in with Joe Klecco. And it's an interesting spectrum that one guy's getting in on his first whack at the pinata, and another guy's been waiting for over 30 years. Long overdue. Joe Klecco in, and then of course to really kick off the middle-ish of the show with Sauce Gardner being the defensive rookie of the year, joining an elite group, by the way. I guess I'll just throw all these fun facts in here, Jet Central, before we rip through all these. And it's an elite list. I believe, if I have this correct, he is the 5th defensive rookie in Jets history to win this award, and he is. And here are the others for the Jets: Sheldon Richardson, 2013, Jonathan Vilma, 2004, Hugh Douglas, 1995, and Eric McMillan, 1988. I don't have to go as long with Garrett Wilson because he is the first offensive rookie, which is kind of sad in one respect, but nonetheless, it's looking forward, baby. Garrett Wilson, the first offensive rookie in Jets franchise history. I mean, holy cannoli. Jet Central, reaction, thoughts. Whoa, mama.
No, man, like it's absolutely nuts. Like I don't want it to be underplayed. Like I just feel like, rookie of the year, sometimes like people go back and forth, like, it doesn't really matter. I think it matters 100%. I mean, Garrett Wilson to win this award with other, capable guys that are well deserving, for him to win this award, I think it's huge. I mean, over 1,000 receiving yards, over 80 catches, 4 touchdowns, with hardly any quarterback production on the season. Caught balls from 3 different quarterbacks, 4 if you want to count Chris Streveler. I mean, it's not like he had Josh Allen, Mahomes, and
Definitely not.
Rodgers throwing it to him. It just wasn't the case, and he still put up great numbers, right? So I think it just shows that, Joe Douglas, obviously 2 slam dunk picks in the top 10, and then Sauce Gardner, on the other hand, 20 passes defended against. That stat alone is nuts, man. It's crazy. Like 2 picks is great. Would he have over 70 tackles? But the 20 passes defended against as a rookie is just wild.
100%. And let's go to your Garrett Wilson nugget that you just conveniently brought up. Garrett Wilson led all rookies in receptions. He led all rookies in receiving yards. And his 4 touchdowns, that's a volatile stat. So kind of whatever. He could have 4 this year and 14 next year. Who knows? But I think the fact of the matter is, to your point, not 1, not 2, not 3. I feel like LeBron James here. 4 gosh darn quarterbacks were throwing the rock to some people left and right. And Garrett Wilson somehow found a way to put up over 1,100 receiving yards, which again, in Jets franchise history, on top of the rookie records and the overall records, put himself in a lot of those conversations. And I couldn't help but think of that live watching the NFL honors. Holy crap. We had a guy who was playing with 4 different quarterbacks. And he somehow cobbled together this historic season. Imagine what the hell he could do in 2023 with a competent quarterback. I went as far as to, throw myself in the streets, begging for Carr and Rodgers on Twitter all night tonight. But really, any competent quarterback, I mean, Garrett Wilson could go from 1,100 to God knows what. I mean, he can reach a superstar level if he isn't already there, Jet Central.
Yeah, no, and you like the guy that he reminds me of, not so much like play style, but just like situation, is DeAndre Hopkins, like first getting going in Houston, working with like just kind of, I don't want to call them like random quarterbacks, but in a sense, it kind of was. It was just a bunch of, middle round guys, late round guys.
That job,
Not,
yeah.
Not household names, just putting in great season after great season after great season, making it work, just really establishing himself as one of the best receivers in the game with, without a star throwing him the ball.
That's the unbelievable part, and I love, DeAndre Hopkins. Give me half of that, please, for old the G-Dub.
Yeah,
I think Jets people are probably doing pretty good. Thanks to everyone who's jumping in, guys. I want you guys all to bask in this. I want us all to share in this. And like I said, an amazing moment, and what an amazing kickoff. I know it is for 30 teams officially. They are in the offseason because they're not in the Super Bowl. 2 more teams will join that group this weekend after the Super Bowl is finished between the Chiefs and the Eagles, and the offseason's underway. And to me, like I said, a spectacular kickstart to all of this, with all this positive vibes, positive momentum, positive energy that's happening here. So yes, bringing in a bunch of comments. Congrats to Revis, Wilson, Sauce, all these guys. This is amazing. Everyone just kind of jumping in on the Jets rookies, Brian Farrell, everybody in here. I'll try to get all your comments in that I can. Also, the YouTube Super Chat feature is also available late here on a Thursday night. If you want to throw some change in the old tin cup, I ain't gonna stop you. That's for damn sure. Hey, we're feeling the good vibes. That's normally when I'm diving deep into the wallet down at the bar. So feel free to share in those same waters. And I loved. I'll use Chrono Kenny here. That yes, what a great job of the Jets social media with the Jet Sweep NFL Blitz kind of play call there, because really, I mean, that's what the Jets did. That should be a motto. We should start slapping that on t-shirts. Jet Sweep, very nice by the Jets social media team. Yes.
Yeah, no, it's totally cool, man. Like, I know we're talking about the rookies here, but the Hall of Fame stuff is no joke, man. Like to see Revis get in, a guy who I remember watching the team draft, literally on draft day, watching it happen, watching him throughout his rookie year, and then that insane 09 season where he was just locking everybody down: Megatron, Andre Johnson, Ocho Cinco. We all know the list of great receivers that he just completely clamped. It's just insane. I like to forget about the Patriot year, but no, I mean, that's a player like 2-4 is just to me, he's the definition of dominance. Like he could shut down anybody, a tight end. He could shut down a slot guy, somebody on the outside. You put him anywhere you want. It was almost like on a week-to-week basis. His role was kind of changing. Like, where do you want me to play now, Rex? Like, who do you want me to shut down? Rex would just throw him on whoever, the best player, and he would go out there and make it work. So, well-deserving. Unfortunately, I never got to see Joe Klecco play for nothing but insane stories. I've seen some highlights of him just wrecking offensive linemen, wrecking quarterbacks, and I know it's not really like the game, now with like all the violence and the aggression now, but I personally love that style of football.
Yes.
So it's cool, man. Like you said it before, like he's been waiting years, like 30 years to get in. And one thing I do want to mention, I'm not 100% sure if this is a fact. You might have the answer to it.
Yeah.
Are Klecko's numbers almost I don't even know what the exact term would be. Not overrated, but kind of the opposite, where he has more or he has better stats, but they didn't start counting the stats until later on.
It's a great point. Yes.
Player?
Yeah, no, you are talking about Klecko. So this is a very interesting nugget. And really, I think it's kind of helped the dynamic in a lot of ways. So, when players initially retire, 5 years after they retire, they become eligible for the Hall of Fame. And you have a 25-year window for modern players to get into the Hall. Now, Joe Klecko went through, cashed in that 25 years and did not get in. Then you get shoved into the senior committee. And it took him a few years, even in that, to eventually get into the position that we got in. And circling all the way back to your question, Jet Central, as this football historian, I really appreciate the game, is the sack statistic wasn't accepted as a wide statistic. I believe the number off the top of my head is 1982. Now, why that's significant is, well, Joe Klecko had a 20 sack season prior to 1982, but it didn't count. So forever on the Pro Football Reference in statistical sites that measure, historians, the game's best players of all time, forever they had him at this weird number like 17, 18 sacks. And I think a lot of the voters would, shame on them, shame on the process, whatever, go, oh, let me do a quick Bing search on Joe Klecko. Then they're like, 17 sacks. And then they try to watch film and try to figure it out. They're like, what's going on here? Well, thankfully, a couple years ago, the NFL decided to expand that number back because there was a few players that obviously fell through the cracks of their quote unquote magical seasons didn't count. The NFL made that an official change, and Joe Klecko got that 20 sack season back and several others. So now his numbers have simply just kind of jumped from nowhere, and now they're a lot more respectable for the time and give him a lot more credit, quite frankly, for as it. And I was tearing up hearing it when Joe Namath introduced Joe Klecko tonight, and his quote was, I'll play the clip here in a second, but he said the anchor of the New York Jet, the New York Sack Exchange, Joe Klecko, a member of the 2023 Hall. I was like getting all emotional watching. I'm like, man, that's right, that's who he is. But yes, to your question, Jet Central, JC Money, is that is true. The statistics have now been widely accepted over the last couple of years, which have expanded his numbers, and quite frankly, I think is a big reason why he's in the Hall of Fame right now.
Yeah, man. I mean, it would always, it just doesn't sit well, to have the years go by, especially for him, his friends and family, to get passed over every single year, knowing that he has all these sacks that aren't even being looked at by, the people that are, the real, judges of the Hall of Fame. So just frustrating stuff, but I'm happy he's in now.
100%. So I will first off just randomly, I guess, get this pet peeve off of my chest, historically speaking, and I'm glad that Joe Klecko did not get included in this group. Thank goodness. Is when, and this has bothered me for years, when players are inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame, or really any Hall of Fame in general, after they're dead. I hate that. It bothers me to my core, because if they were worthy after they're dead, they're certainly worthy before they are. Ken the Snake Stabler, and there's a lot of ones that you can add in the list. And I was hoping it would not be Joe Klecko, but once you get deeper and deeper into the list, you just say, man, is he ever going to get in, first off, but secondly, only going to get the tip of the cap in, because when people die, we kind of go like, that guy, why don't we do something for him? Like, no, do something for him, because Joe Klecko and so many others that are still hanging out there deserve that moment in the sun, deserve, as they did tonight at NFL Honors, to walk on that stage, to get that call, to get that knock on the door that is the Hall of Fame. So that's been something that bothers me forever, and I am just so thankful that Joe Klecko did not have to be a part of that. So I had to randomly get that off my chest since we were randomly on the topic. But you were bringing up Revis. I mean, how can I not bring up the graphic on the screen? Of course, this is what we're talking about. Yeah. The famous graphic that, went viral, of course, way back in 2009, still gets brought up when we're talking about the greatness of Revis. And these are the notable wide receivers in that season that he held to 35 yards or less. We're talking Andre Johnson, who was a candidate for the Pro Football Hall of Fame in his own right. Randy Moss, a Hall of Famer. And twice he faced him, obviously, playing in the AFC East. Marcus Colston, who was a great player. T.O., Pro Football Hall of Famer, twice. Torrey Holt, eventual Pro Football Hall of Famer. Steve Smith, eventual Pro Football Hall of Famer. Quite frankly, I'll just cut to the chase. Reggie Wayne and Ocho Cinco will all eventually be in the Hall of Fame. So, again, Revis deserves his moment in the sun. And also, Jet Central, I'm not sure if you saw this, but apparently I got in a Twitter beef with Charles Woodson, of all people. We're tweeting back and forth at each other, and he got a few expletives in there, and he was not very happy. Someone asked him after the Super Bowl, he was at Media Row, And they said, "Oh, Revis, you think he's going to the Hall of Fame?" He's like, "Yeah, he's probably got a good shot." And I said, "Oh, here's this clip that Charles Woodson said that Revis has a good shot." I said, "I wonder if Woodson has a good shot at giving back that Defensive Player of the Year award he stole from him in 2009." And then all of a sudden, Woodson started tweeting at me, and we got in a weird beef. So I didn't anticipate that in 2023, JC. But I don't think he's going to be giving that award back. That's the moral of that story, I do believe.
Dude, I didn't see that, man. I gotta go check it out if the tweets are even still up. If not, just tell me off camera because I want to know. I want to know the details.
So people feel free to search that. Again, he got very upset. He was not happy about that little tay-to-tay. And then all of a sudden, a bunch of Raiders fans just started jumping in the mix. But you know what? That's what sports are all about. So that's a very special moment in its own right. And we got to, of course, I see it right here. So we will throw one more quick clip up, and then we'll keep reacting and getting your fan interactions here. This is from earlier tonight. This is Joe Namath. Officially, they are announcing the Pro Football Hall of Fame class of 2023, and Joe Namath is the one that introduced Joe Klecco officially and welcoming him to the 2023 class. Here is Joe Namath tonight at NFL Honors.
This versatile talent earned Pro Bowl nods at 3 different positions. The anchor of the New York Stock Exchange, Joe Klecco.
Joe gosh darn Klecko, baby. That's what I'm freaking talking about. Look at that. Joe Klecko. Oh, God. And it's still, I know literally it happened, but I'm kind of like pinching myself through this that, okay, that really happened. He's really going to the Hall of Fame. We found that out a little bit earlier today because for those who don't know, other fun facts about the Hall of Fame, I'm a football nerd, is that they find out most of the time well in advance. Joe Klecko got the call and the knock last week. Joe Namath is the one who surprised him, said, "You're going to the Hall," and he lost his crap, and he had to kind of hold it in, obviously, up until today, and the article broke earlier. But, yeah, emotional, man. It's cool, and Revis gets in the first time. This is, again, just a magical night for all, I think, is the best way to put it here, JC.
Yeah, no, 100%. It's super cool. And you kind of alluded to it before, to kick off the stream. Like it's kind of a reflection on the all-time greats. And it's also a reflection on, what's to come with Wilson and Sauce, so it's a cool like parallel that way.
Yeah, so let's bring it to the present. We talked a little bit about it kind of here and there, but Sauce friggin' Gardner, man. Of course, he apparently before the season had a rookie checklist of things he wanted to accomplish. And some people rolled their eyes like, yeah, nice checklist, pal. Like, okay, I want $1 million. I want to date a supermodel. Like, okay, we all have things on our list. But apparently Sauce wanted to be a Pro Bowler. Check. First team All-Pro. Check. And the final one was Defensive Rookie of the Year. And by the way, we'll see if I could get this up quickly. But, I mean, he absolutely friggin' dominated the vote. I mean, it wasn't close. I'm going to be honest, heading into this, out of all the things happening that I thought were going to happen, I will say that the Defensive Rookie of the Year thing is the thing I think I felt the most confident about. I'm like, okay, I think Sauce is going to give the business here. I think he is clearly going to win, but I'm curious how close it'll be because some people are kind of wowed by some of the stats like, interceptions and things. Here's the voting. Ari, our good guy, Maroff on Twitter. Sauce Gardner had 46 of the 50 first place votes. Here are the others. Aiden Hutchinson got 3. Tariq Woolen 1. I mean, a complete domination, pillar to post, A to Z, kicking ass, taking names. I mean, freaking Sauce Gardner, 4th overall to freaking first team All-Pro, one of the best corner seasons of all time. I mean, how did he not get Defensive Player of the Year votes for Pete's sake? I mean, holy crap, this guy was a stud muffin.
Yeah, no, he absolutely dominated. And, I'm with you. I felt like once Sauce was named like All-Pro, like he's probably going to win Rookie of the Year. It was Garrett that I was a little like, yeah, I knew he was the favorite, but I was thinking like, man, are they really going to give it to 2 Jets?
Yes.
Brock Purdy, quarterback, priority over wide receiver. And also too, like Kenneth Walker had an insane year. So I felt like offensive could have went in a bunch of different directions. It looked like Olave was going to get it early on. Another guy who I really, really like for New Orleans, but no, it's sick that it's back-to-back Jets here.
100%. Let's go to the Garrett Wilson part of it. So it was clear domination by Sauce. Like, it was not close. I mean, he beat black and blue the rest of his competition. However, the controversy, of course, with the offensive rookie of the year is, so Garrett Wilson wins it. First off, first offensive rookie in Jets history. That has never happened before. We've had several defensive guys, again, 5 total now with Sauce, but never before offensive. And technically, Kenneth Walker had more first place votes than Garrett Wilson. Kenneth Walker had 19 first place votes. Garrett Wilson only had 18. However, the new grading system also factors in second and third place. So, you give a ballot of your top 3. And cumulatively, altogether, Garrett Wilson earned 156 points, quote unquote. Kenneth Walker had 129. So it was closer, obviously much closer than the other award. But Garrett Wilson wins that. And I just have to say, I think we talked about it actually on our on the random stream that you just broke into my house. I'm like, who the hell is this guy? Oh, it's Jet Central. Here he is on the Buffalo stream. And I said I would be absolutely flabbergasted if somehow Brock gosh darn Purdy with 5 friggin' games would have won the award. The fact that he's a finalist, again, still makes me sick. And especially the redraft this week from Rich Samiti, where Brock Purdy's the number 4 overall pick. I mean, friggin' disgusting. But I'm just glad that he finished 3rd. I'm still sick that he got any votes. I mean, come on, man. Like, for Pete's sake.
Yeah, I mean, we all know the NFL like loves the quarterback position, and then like on top of it too, like I do think like the whole Mr. Relevant thing like played a part in it, just because that would have been an awesome story, like last pick to rookie of the year. That's cool, but in the end, like I don't know if Purdy played like 12 games, 13 games, I definitely could have seen it happening, but it's just not big enough of a sample size at the end of the day.
100%. And shit, if we're doing 5 games, where the hell is Breece Hall? That's my guy.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
I mean, shoot, for Pete's sake. But anywho, I digress. Thankfully, I didn't have to go on a rant and start flipping tables and hurting people in the local area. We were just able to let everything go the way it was supposed to go. But nonetheless, I'm just glad that didn't happen. I'm seeing this question a lot, and Jet said, I'll make the announcement on the show, baby. I am heading to the Pro Football Hall of Fame in August. I've never been there. It's been on the bucket list, and hell, a better reason or chance or anything is Revis and Klecko going in. And I get this question all the time. Jets 8:30 question: do you guys think we'll get the Hall of Fame game now, since we have 2 guys going in the Hall of Fame? And by the way, for those who don't know, the Hall of Fame game officially kicks off the preseason for the next year. So it's a first game. Those teams get a bonus game. We only have 3 preseason games now, but if the Jets were to play, they would have 4 preseason games in that Hall of Fame game that kicks off the Hall of Fame weekend. And everything from I've heard, and these are some reliable people, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And now Revis and Klecko are official. The full expectation from everyone I've talked to for weeks and months leading into this is that the Jets will be featured in the Hall of Fame game, and that'll be coming up in August. Obviously, that announcement won't come till later in the offseason, but everything I've heard is they're going to be in, which only makes this Hall of Fame and my visitation to it being official. We got to just buy the tickets, cross some T's, dot some I's, and make that official. But we're heading down there. Jet Central, you need to get your ass in. I don't know where the hell you are. You're like in Florida or something. You need to get your ass in the official Jet Central minivan and drive your ass up to Ohio, because we need to go to this thing, brother.
No, man, like I'm right there with you. It's definitely one of those bucket list things for me. I've been dying to go since I was a kid. Same with Cooperstown too, with the MLB. That would just be nuts to go to. But yeah, man, if you're down, like I'll try to make it happen.
Okay, boom, it's happening. I will tell you, it's kind of embarrassing now that you've had that on your bucket list. I feel embarrassed to say, like, Cooperstown is like literally in my backyard, so to speak. It's like an hour away. Never been. I've been in New York since 2008. It's been 15 gosh darn years, and I'm like, I'll go there eventually. 15 years later, I'm closer to death than birth. What's happening here? I mean, that has to be on the list. But 100%. Hall of Fame, book it, Jet Central. Your people talk to my people. We get some agents involved. Let's figure out all the logistics. That's happening. Live stream, Hall of Fame, booyah. Let's put that in the docket, baby. That's all I'm saying. Let's get that in there. Let's make.
Yeah, man. We'll try to make it happen for sure.
All right. So that, again, amazing news, everybody. Again, all of the news. 2 Hall of Famers friggin' in, baby. Joe Klecko, Darrelle Revis, booyah. They're in the 2023 class. I expect the Hall of Fame game to also happen. And then Sauce Gardner and Garrett Wilson winning this class. And because I have you on and I see this question all over the place, and Joe Namath was asked, there's obviously a lot of celebrities, there's stars, Jet players, both current and old. Woody Johnson, of course, there tonight as well, all asked about the quarterback position. When the hell and who the hell is going to be playing quarterback, because it feels like obviously this tremendous pivot point. All good vibes right now, but depending on who that quarterback is, this thing could be taken to an absolute another level, especially with the schedule release. That's coming up in May, and if the Jets get a sexy guy, some primetime games and all other kinds of things could be in the mix. First off, not even who, when do we find out who the heck the starting quarterback is for the New York Jets? When do we find that out? Give me a date, Jet Central. Let's end all the drama right now. Just tell me when we're going to know.
Man, I'm going to say at least a week in a free agency, like in that first week.
So maybe like March 20th, March 18th, somewhere in that ballpark is what you're saying.
Yeah, I think so. Okay. I mean, the Rodgers here is like the big domino. It's the big question mark, obviously, right? Like everybody knows that. If he decides to stick with Green Bay, the one thing I'm really, really interested to see, Jimmy Garoppolo's, market is going to shoot up, because now it's like he's the best one left. The Raiders still need one. The Jets would obviously still need one. Carolina. Washington is saying that they're going to roll with Howell, but I don't want to just like cement that in and say, yeah, that's like 100% guaranteed. Like I'll see it when I believe it type of thing. Yeah. But I mean, now all of a sudden we got a bidding war, like a 3-4 team bidding war for maybe Atlanta. Tampa Bay is another team that could be interested in Jimmy. So, all of a sudden we can be looking at 4 or 5 teams just putting in offers for Garoppolo. That's my fear. So I really want to get this Rodgers news kind of figured out first, and then be the first mover with the Jimmy G stuff, because frankly, I don't think that the Jets have any time to waste.
Well, let me attempt to quell your fears, JC, if I can. I mean, I don't know if I actually can. That's for the doctors to be able to figure out. But here's the thing. I'm dropping a juicy nugget on the Twitter account tomorrow on Jimmy Garoppolo, and an inside nugget source of someone on the Jimmy Garoppolo contract stuff. From everything I'm hearing, it's not as crazy as people think. I'm going to be honest. When I pontificated myself with no sources, just, what do I think is going to happen? I thought it was going to be 25, 30 mil a year on a multi-year deal. That's what my gut told me. However, from things I'm hearing, I'll reveal one. Brad Spielberger, who is a PFF salary cap analyst, he believes ultimately that Jimmy will either sign a minimal deal in terms of length, 1 or 2 years, for like $15 million a year. And when you evaluate that to the rest of the quarterback market, the most expensive quarterback is like $50-ish million a year. I mean, that's a dramatic drop off. And there's an even bigger national source than Brad Spielberger that's about to share that on the old Twitter sphere tomorrow. So giving you the scoop ski, because you're my boy, how could I not provide that intel? That's the kind of guy I am. But it seems like the Jimmy Garoppolo, if that's the flavor of some Jet fans out there, it looks like, relatively speaking, the money might not be too crazy. But to your point, if Aaron Rodgers all of a sudden decides to stay, maybe the dynamic of what I expect to happen based on those conversations may dramatically change, because anything can happen in free agency. But if that quells your fears at all, Jet Central, that maybe Jimmy Garoppolo is not as expensive.
Yeah, no, it definitely does, dude. It's a super, super interesting point. I always love getting like that inside information, man. It's awesome. No, I'm with you. I was kind of thinking like 20 to 30 million on like a 3-year contract for Jimmy. But I mean, like looking back at his past contract for the Niners, I don't know if it was a restructure or if it was just re-signed. Oh, my light died here.
No, that's okay.
But I think he was only on. It was a 1 year, 12 mil.
Correct. And they basically cut it in half, and it ended up being, well, there were some incentives, so maybe made some of that back. But the initial renegotiation that happened after, they said, well, actually, we're going to bring Jimmy back, is a 1 year, $6-ish million deal with incentives that, hey, first off, you can't franchise tag me, Jimmy Garoppolo, to the 49ers. They're like, cool, okay. And then a bunch of incentives. If somehow I play, we all know that was going to happen, that he gets his ass in there, that, okay, I'm going to be able to build some incentives. So, again, once Trey Lance went down, he filled in for a while before he got hurt and Brock Purdy came in, but Brock Purdy played like 5 games. So Garoppolo still had, I don't know, whatever that ended up being. I don't have the stats for him, like 7-8 games or something. So he probably built some of that back in incentives. So it was really a renegotiation to keep him there, because they could have just straight up cut him, but they kind of got lucky. Again, good for San Francisco because they were going to move on from his ass. But, so it really was just more so a renegotiation, a pay cut, but he got a little bit more in guarantees.
Gotcha, man. Gotcha.
Yeah, 100%. Again, that on the Jimmy G train. So I asked you on timing, and we asked that question. Who the hell is going to be the guy? There's a lot of buzz on Derek Carr and the Saints. I'm hearing, I spoke with, Flex, former NFL general manager and executive of the year, Randy Mueller, who joins me every Thursday on the show. Boop. Sign up if you haven't. Make sure you guys check out that show every Thursday. More details to come on that. But we had him on earlier today, and he believes that basically the Saints are not actually going to trade for Derek Carr. They're just doing this to get a head start. They just say, hey, Raiders, maybe we'll trade this, but we want to talk to him first. And they're like, okie dokie. And then they bring him in and just kind of get a head start on free agency in terms of those conversations. So it sounds like Derek Carr still won't be traded, but that situation is going to figure itself out pretty quick. And obviously Aaron Rodgers with this darkness, retreat, Bane, whatever the hell is going on over there, it's going to be a couple weeks till we find out that. So who is your guy? Jet Central. We asked this before, but this is a moving field goal post. People are changing their answers left and right. So again, I ask you, who the hell is your guy? Who do you want to be playing quarterback for Gang Green?
Yeah, man, I feel like I've been kind of hitting or really, responding with the same answer for where I feel boring, right? I feel like a broken record. I've been saying the same thing for weeks now. I'm fine with any of the top three, Jimmy, A-Rod, or Carr. I do view Carr and Rodgers in a higher tier than Jimmy when it comes to overall play, but it's not to say that Jimmy would suck or I would be pissed, right? Because Jimmy does bring pros. I do think he would fit the Hackett system. He obviously knows Saleh. He has a really, really good reputation around the league with players and coaches outside of like Kyle Shanahan now, of just guys gravitating towards him, right? He's a really, really good teammate. He spent his entire career working in two complex systems with New England and Shanahan, or New England and San Fran.
Yeah.
Quick release, get the ball out, super accurate in the short passing game, cheaper, like you said before, cheaper than Carr, cheaper than A-Rod. I think it does make a lot of sense. The only concern here is just the durability. I mean, it's like, is he going to play 9 weeks? And then all of a sudden we got to roll Wilson back out there, roll somebody else back out. Maybe we have to go sign a high-priced backup just in case Garoppolo gets hurt. And I mean, we know the track record with the Jets. Guys get hurt left and right. Jimmy G has been hurt his entire career outside of one season where he's actually been the starter. Ironically enough, that one season where he played the full year, he went to the Super Bowl 13-3. So
true.
I like Garoppolo a lot. I obviously love Carr. Don't think it's going to happen though at this point. And then Rodgers too. I would love it.
All right, let me ask you a two-part question here because this is buzzing, obviously, based on tonight. A mini one first that leads us to the second one. Are you of the mindset, and a lot of people, it seems like, are in Jets land, that if the Jets don't make the playoffs in 2023, everyone is going to be fired? Are you of that mindset, yes or no?
Are you asking if I would or what I think is going to happen?
Yes.
Okay. I think of course, like we have to see how it plays out with like injuries and whatnot, but just assuming the squad just doesn't progress whatsoever, I think I would clean house. And that's just because I know Joe Douglas has made some awesome things. I mean, the point of the stream is talking about two guys that he drafted.
I mean, yes.
But at the same time, you talk to anybody around the league, right? Fans could have selected Sauce Gardner at 4, Garrett Wilson at 10. They aren't diamond in the rough types of finds. He's been here for years now. Still don't know what's going on with QB. Still have problems on the offensive line. The one thing with Douglas that just doesn't sit well with me is I just feel like when it comes to plan B, when it comes to plan C and plan D, there's really not a lot of emphasis put on like a backup plan. Whether it's like drafting Zach Wilson and not having a veteran with him, or just starting him from the get-go and again not really having like that question looming, like, okay, well, what if he struggles, or what if he regresses in his progression? Like, what's the plan there? What happens if Mekhi Becton gets hurt? Oh, all of a sudden now we have to scramble and go sign Dwayne Brown to a 2-year, $20+ million deal. It's always just been the backup plan that has bothered me. if a certain guy walks, now all of a sudden we have to scramble and go try to bring somebody else in. On top of that, we have the 2019 draft where it's like James Morgan, Ashton Davis, like a lot of picks, Mims, Becton, like, I don't know. But assuming the Jets miss the playoffs again and finish with, 4 or 5 wins, I think I'm cleaning house fully. I think what will happen, though, is Joe Douglas will stay and Saleh and Co will go if that's the case.
Well, first off, of course, we all just hope they just win the Super Bowl, and none of this is a conversation, of course. But I will say, I really love, and again, that gets you in a dangerous place. I really love this regime. Robert Saleh, I like the cut of his jib. Joe Douglas, obviously, the assassination, Stone Cold Steve Austin trades all over the place. Like, there's a lot of excitement there, so I want it to work. I'm willing it to work. Sometimes that isn't enough, but I really want it to. And I really want whoever it is to stay on the same page. So I want Joe Douglas and the coach to be on the same wavelength. And obviously this current regime is because, Joe Douglas helped hire Robert Saleh, and they're on the same wavelength. So I'm hoping they continue to stay in that realm. You kind of answered it already with your question, but I will still replace it. The reason why I asked that first part of the 2-part question is because a lot of people tonight, and I even see in our comment section here, are saying, well, look at this killer draft. Some people would say this may be one of the greatest Jets draft class of all time. Now, obviously, there's a lot to be figured out with, obviously Revis, Brick, Mangold, and I'm talking about a couple of different drafts in the 2006, 2007 range, but still, there was a lot of wows in some of those. But they're like, look at what Joe Douglas just did. Sauce Gardner, again, all-pro defensive rookie of the year. Garrett Wilson, offensive rookie of the year. The stat we didn't give, the Jets become the 3rd team in NFL history to sweep the major awards, which is offensive rookie and defensive rookie. The last team to do it was the New Orleans Saints in 2017. Obviously, you had Marshawn Lattimore and Alvin Kamara, and then the Lions team in the 60s, and then the Jets. That's the list. So a lot of people are saying, well, look at that draft. I mean, how could you possibly even think about getting rid of that guy, even though he's going into technically year 5? He was hired in 2019 post-draft, post-free agency. So it's kind of weird how you calculate that. But when you look at him, does that give you any hesitation? When you look at this class, when we talk about those 3 guys in the first round, Jermaine Johnson really didn't get reps, but it wasn't really his fault because of depth. Breece Hall would have been offensive rookie year if he didn't get hurt. And all the other guys were key starters or key starters/key role players throughout the rest of the season. Clemens was a key part of the rotation. Max Mitchell had to start games because of all the musical chairs. I mean, this may be, when you look, and Jeremy Ruckert, again, because it was a luxury pick, we don't know what he's going to be, but overall, this could be one of the really great classes ever, and obviously one of the best for the NFL this past year. Does that give you any hesitation? Like, oh man, maybe we shouldn't fire this guy. Look what he's done. He's not like one of some of these bad GMs the Jets have had before, where he's just terrible at everything. Like the drafting and some of the trades have been spectacular. Does that give you any hesitation, or still no as part of the plan?
Well, I think, we're looking at this class right now when it's, for what it is. And we saw the 2 rookies of the year. We see the potential. We see the growth. I'm not saying I want to fire Joe Douglas, right? Not at all.
Sure.
But if the Jets finish with 4 wins and nobody's getting hurt, the team is just a mess and players are regressing and guys aren't maybe as good as they seem early on, then it's like, okay, now we might have a clearer picture. And then you would pivot and make a decision on the general manager, because we would still have to grade the 2019, 2020.
Sure.
All his other classes as well as this year's as well. So I'm not saying like, let's get rid of Douglas or anything like that.
Right.
But at the end of the year, right, this time next offseason, and the Jets are horrible and all these Breece Hall regresses and Sauce Gardner's getting like torched, then it's like, I don't know, but that's not the reality. Right. So,
100%.
It's kind of like a weird hypothetical, like that you'd have to like place your mind to like really, really dive into. But personally, I don't want to think about those guys getting worse,
Absolutely not. And again, like what did the Jets fit? Let's say they finish 10-7 again, and they or 10-7, and they just missed the playoffs like 2015 style. Did they get fired then? I don't know. So there's gray area and all that stuff. So let's just hope for the best. We'll end with a couple of questions here from the fans, so we'll get you out of here at Jet Central. And thank everybody for joining us late here on a Thursday night. This is spectacular. Again, my engine is revving. I don't know if I'm going to bed tonight, but nonetheless, let's answer some of these questions while I'm still awake. Trin the Great, if Derek Carr goes to the Saints and Aaron Rodgers doesn't come here and Jimmy G goes to some other team, what do the Jets do? Jacoby Brissett? Ryan Tannehill, gross. I mean, I don't feel great about any of those, but to be honest, I feel like you could still go worse. Like I just threw some names out there kind of off the top of my dome, but like obviously, I think the absolute worst case scenario, and again, I hope Zach Wilson works out one day, but obviously he hasn't so far, is like some combination of like Gardner Minshew, Mike White, and Zach Wilson. Like, I never wanted Gardner. I was never on that mini train that some Jet fans were on. I was like, hell no, he's been a backup for a reason. So no thanks. The Mike White thing, I think he's probably going to LA with Mike LaFleur. And then Zach Wilson just here because of the contract. So, like, what are you doing there? I mean, that's perhaps my worst possible case scenario. And we're at such an exciting point of the offseason right now that it's hard to even put myself in that place. But that's probably the worst case scenario. Where do you sit with either that or just straight up answering this question? Where would you go from here?
Yeah, man. I think also like if Lamar still does not sign this extension, he's still in play. I'm not ruling him out until the ink is on the paper, you know?
Yes.
Let me see. Carr goes to the Saints. Rodgers doesn't come here. Jimmy G goes. Okay, so I would say, you know, at that point, like Tannehill or Baker Mayfield.
Baker.
I don't know how I would feel about the Jets drafting another rookie in the first round, especially like trading up. Right, you're giving away stuff to move up. Although I do love CJ Stroud, I just don't trust the Jets anymore to develop these young guys.
Fair.
I would say maybe Tannehill on like a 1-year contract, 1 to 2-year deal. He makes me a little nervous because he is up there in age. He's coming off the ankle surgery.
Like 35-ish. Yeah.
But I will say when Tannehill is at his best, he is a great game manager. You give him a good running game, you give him a good defense, you give him some weapons, like he can actually function. And you can make the argument, hey, like, you know, a lot of quarterbacks can have success. That's true. But at least with Tannehill, it's not an assumption. It's fact, right? I think back-to-back 11-win seasons. There was one season where Tannehill freaking lit it up, like 30+ touchdowns, 7 picks, I think. 2020, it was the virus year, I think.
Yeah, I think you're right. I'll pull that up just in case. But yes, I think you're right.
And then another like little connection is Keith Carter, now on the Jet staff from Tennessee. So there is that familiar face.
Look at that season. You were right. It was COVID 2020 season. Look at these numbers. 65.5% completion percentage. Not bad. 3,800 passing yards, 33 touchdowns, 7 picks. That was the same, by the way, I don't know why I remember this off the top of my head, but those are the same touchdown reception ratio Brett Favre had in his first year with Minnesota, so which is spectacular. 106.5 QBR. Obviously, that was the best year of his career, and the only year he's ever thrown for over 30 touchdown passes. But obviously, it just shows you that, wait a second, something could happen here in the right situation.
Yeah, and like another thing too, the Titans just brought in a new GM. So this guy, and he has not even publicly committed to Tannehill. He's been uncommittal. If the Titans move on, it's an $18 million dead cap hit. So pretty big number. But the new GM is coming from San Fran, and there's that Jimmy G connection there too. So you never know.
And to give you some more insight, I got a few people in Tennessee. From what I've heard, to acquire Tannehill, all it would take from the Titans people I've talked to is maybe a third or a fourth. And so, again, we're talking about like kind of nothing relative. I love draft picks, so I'd prefer not to give up any. But, that's what I've heard in terms of trade price. And I've heard Tannehill, which, by the way, is, let me get the correct age. He is 34, but will turn 35 this offseason. So, again, he turns 35 July 27th. But from what I've heard from that side is that Tannehill, some of these guys, who's a good example? I'm trying to think of a quarterback you trade for and immediately give a deal. Like, according to everything I've heard, that Tannehill will be cool. He's got 1 year left on his deal. They'd be cool riding it out. If the Jets traded for him, another team did, he's like, all right, let's just roll out and play this year. We'll see what happens. And maybe the Jets would be cool with that for a 34, near 35-year-old, and then they don't have to really commit for the future. So it sounds like you could really draft pick, wouldn't cost a lot, and then you just kind of take the chance of your guy and kick the can to next year. And if he's spectacular, I guess you could consider a franchise tag or some other crazy thing. So it's, again, to your point, to kind of round it around full circle, not bad. I know people probably feel squeamish about the Dolphins days, but, and bringing that guy in. But
I mean, it's funny because I grew up in South Florida and like all my buddies were like, yo, Tannehill's a beast. And I do remember everybody rubbing it in my face that he would throw for like monster amounts of yards when, in the early days, when not necessarily when he was a rookie, but I do recall like him just like his passing yard stat was always really good for Miami.
He's got some good ones in here. 3,900, 4,000, 4,200. This is the middle of the Dolphins run. Now, paired with that, unfortunately, he has been a gosh darn interception monster his entire friggin' career. I mean, this is disgusting. Every year, and I'm just going from his rookie year on, 13, 17, 12, 12, 12. And then the last couple, like, okay, 9, 6, 7, 14, which was gross in 2021. But like, yeah, so there've been, like, he throws a lot of touchdowns, but there is a lot of interceptions kind of getting mixed in there too. Recently, not as much. Out of the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, out of his last 5 seasons, which includes his last one with the Dolphins and the last 4 with Tennessee, he's only had double-digit interceptions once, as opposed to he started out with his first 5 years in the league all double-digit interceptions. So a little bit better, cleaner in that category. But yeah, a lot of high passing numbers. And again, the Jets system, Nathaniel Hackett, there could be some natural schematic fits here that could make sense. That could make sense there as well.
Yeah, another thing too, like,
sure,
you know, like I really don't feel like you could put like a ton of stock into this, but knowing that he is 34, going to be 35, he was considered like a late bloomer because he did play wide receiver in college and just had I think he only had 1 season where he played quarterback for the Aggies.
Right, because he was a wide receiver before. Correct, right.
Right. So, you know, you can maybe say like, all right, well, his learning curve isn't on the same trajectory as every other rookie quarterback that has the 3, 4 years of, or 3, 4, 5 years of college experience. You know, because Tannehill did come onto the scene late and just hardly played QB when he was younger. So you do have that in your back pocket. But again, like, I really don't know how much stock you can throw into it. We kind of know who Tannehill is at this point.
Yeah, I've been telling my parents for the last 20 years that I am on a late learning curve and eventually I'm going to hit. I've not been able to cash in on that, but I've been telling my parents that every year for quite some time. So that's something to also consider in here. Another couple of quickies here. Ragna Jet, a good loyal subscriber to the channel. Hey, bros, give us the shakedown. If Aaron comes, who else is coming over to the Jets? Cutting players make room in the cap. I will just tell you, I'll just kind of transition this question to other Packers guys that could come along. And I've talked to a few Green Bay people. Obviously, the big sexy one everyone talks about is Alan Lazard. The money will be rich. Now, not crazy rich, but rich enough that makes you think about it. He would have to probably be a direct replacement for Davis. I love the size at 6'5", bringing in. That's what I think this Jets wide receiver core is missing, especially if obviously you move on from Corey Davis. Other names that could make sense. There are Packers pending free agents. Adrian Amos, again, the Jets with the safety need. And then a bunch of just kind of groupies of, just general groupies is what I call them on the Aaron Rodgers train. Randall Cobb could make sense. Robert Tonyan is out there. Let's bring his old ass. Mercedes Lewis at like 30, almost 9. He apparently wants to be I'm going to try to get the stat right. He wants to be the longest tenured tight end in NFL history, like playing the most seasons of any tight end in NFL history. I think he needs one more to do it. So you could bring his old ass along. Why not, I guess? And the only other one I'll bring up is, and I hope the Jets don't have to go in this direction, quite frankly. I hope they re-sign Greg Zuerlein, but if they don't, Mason Crosby is also a free agent to be. So again, he could be another one of his groupies. Apparently is a longtime friend of Aaron Rodgers as well. So all of those guys are suddenly on the table purely from the Rodgers perspective. I won't really get into all the cuts and all that could potentially happen down the line. But in terms of guys coming in, I think those are all the guys' names on the list. Anyone we missed there, Jets Central, that you want to throw in there?
Trying to think. I think Lazard is probably the big one, as well as like Cobb and whatnot. Especially if Berrios gets released, I could see Cobb being in play.
I can also see Berrios being like, this is super just like, hey, small white guy in the slot. But, I could totally see him being like Wes Welker with Aaron Rodgers all the time. Like, you're like, wow, there's a guy. Like, okay, phenomenal. So, again, that's just my peanut brain saying that. But again, I could totally see him being a viable piece. I know a lot of people want to throw Braxton Berrios out, and as he did with his long hair last offseason. But a lot of people are kind of all over the place on that. So I could definitely see it as well. And look at this. Come on. We're joined by royalty here. I mean, Green Bean, baby, jumping in here. Yo, we did it, buddy. We swept this thing. I thought at first when he said we did it, buddy, he was like talking to you, Jet Central, because I know he's over 10,000 subscribers. I thought he was just kind of running it in my face, amaze balls. I thought that's really what was happening. I'm begging for loose change in the street around the $3,000 plus subscriber train. You're at 30,000. I'm just like, subscribe, please, with my little tin cup out. I thought that's really what you said.
No.
But nonetheless, appreciate that. Thank Green Bean, the OG, who's in here. That's beautiful. Thank you for that, Green Bean. Which, by the way, he was down at the Senior Bowl, and that's pretty cool. That's on the bucket list. My daughter was turning 1, so that was I couldn't say, "Hey, honey, I'll see you later." I would have been killed, and you would have read about me in the obituary, perhaps, on that. But random question here, my boy, Jet Central. Do you do any traveling? Do you go to Combine, Senior Bowl? You dabbling into any of those big time NFL events?
Yeah, so I did the Senior Bowl for a couple seasons. Haven't done it as of late. Once the virus hit, like then everything kind of got a little weird. And then lately it's just been money situation wise, just haven't really had the luxury to go fly out to wherever.
Sure, we're not making Green Bean money. I mean, that's the blunt truth. We're not having Green Bean money where apparently he can just drive all over the country and throw it in our face. I love that you did that. Throw him right under the bus that in which he drives. Excellent work, Jet Central. I think you're right. You've nailed it. We don't have that kind of money. That is 100% true. 100% true.
Yeah. But no, man, I would love to go. I still I don't know, like maybe the Hall of Fame game, like we were talking about before.
Save your pennies. Yeah. So I hear money is an issue. Please make sure you're throwing some super chats at Jet Central for Pete's sake. Let's get him enough green so we can head on, gosh darn, to the Hall of Fame game. He needs some loose change, people. Dig in your piggy banks and help a brother out. He's a brother from another mother over here. So yes, let's say, you know what? Let's rein it in. I'm saying like, hey, let's go Combine, baby. Let's do this. Like, whoa, we need to rein it in. First off, number 1, Hall of Fame game, and then obviously when the Jets are in the Super Bowl next year, we'll cobble that together. But one thing at a time. I think that is a great lesson learned here.
Let's do it, man. Let's do it.
There you go. That's beautiful. Well, Jet Central, I thank you from the bottom of my heart for randomly, like I said, we were just kind of watching or I was rather watching the NFL honors. I just said, shit, we got to get on here. We need to make some things happen, pop, lock, and drop. And for you to come on last second, which apparently is how the only way I communicate with you. It's just gun to the back of your head, get on my channel, and then like get here as quickly as possible. That's been our last 2 encounters. So spectacular. We'll try to keep that going here in the near future. No doubt about it, pal.
Yeah, man, 100%. I always love coming on, and yeah, dude, I hope it's not the last.
Absolutely not. Well, Jet Central, before we get you out of here, I have to allow the platform, of course. What the hell do you have cooking on the channel? What's coming up, man? Give it to us.
Quarterback stuff, and more quarterback stuff. Until we get that stuff figured out, man, like I just feel like everything else is kind of, I don't want to say minimal or not important, because of course it is, but QB is just such a massive, if the Jets have Aaron Rodgers compared to whoever, Zach Wilson next year, like that's a major discrepancy, on how the team looks. So
are you sick of it yet? Are you sick of the talk? I've seen some Jets content creators already saying that they're annoyed by it. They wish it was over. And others are like, yeah, baby, this is juicy. Let's dive in. This doesn't happen all the time for most NFL teams. Are you sick of it? Or are you embracing the quarterback craziness?
Well, I mean, like, as much as I love the game, like the actual sport itself, I also love rumors. I love like the sources thing from Schefter and Rappaport, and like trying to follow up on these stories and talking to different people and trying to gather, your own information. I think it's the coolest thing. Obviously not like the fake stuff that gets spread around, to just kind of tweet to get like, that kind of stuff, but like legit sources.
Speculation. It's sexy. Come on. It's fun.
The speculation is cool because I spent my entire life like sitting in class like thinking about these different scenarios, like what if the Jets got A-Rod, what if the Jets get Jimmy, how would the team look? And I know there's more people out there that kind of think the same way, so I'm all for the speculation.
As am I. So, guys, stay tuned to both Jet Central channel, and whenever you're not watching that 24/7, throw a pity view at one of mine. I'd really appreciate it. So, yes, quarterback, and more quarterback. That is 1,000% right. And, guys, enjoy tonight. Whether you're watching this live with us, I hope you were, for all the people who joined in. But even after the fact, Hall of Fame, Rookie of the Years all over the gosh darn place. It's in the famous words of DJ Reed, who I tweeted out that clip randomly tonight. It's a great day to be a Jet, and hopefully you guys all enjoyed it. Jet Central, thanks again, pal, for joining us.
Hey, thanks so much for having me, man.
There he is. All right, thanks, everybody. We'll see you next